Hey guys, this is like the third time I've tried this. I'm gonna. This is. Hello, everybody. My name is Chill Pineapple. Now, you may be wondering why this is the third time I've gone live tonight. Or you might not be because nobody is subscribed to this channel. Anyway, I've come to talk about Final Fantasy Record Keeper, a mobile game that is dead globally, still alive in the Japanese version. Now, if you're wondering why I'm looking down here, computer screen's down here, camera, you're up there. And it's kind of hard to look up there all those times. So, yeah, I want to talk about Final Fantasy Record Keeper. Now, this mobile game. Now, let me explain what Final Fantasy Record Keeper is. FFRK, also known as Final Fantasy Record Keeper, is, well, a dead mobile game. Now, it is, of course, mobile games being games you can play on your phone and all that stuff. It is one of those games that died 2 years ago. It was a game that encompassed, as you can see from and I will share it on my screen a little bit because they posted you might hear a little clicks. Stuff because I'm going through this. This is very unprofessional. But let's be honest. I have to get rid of what? Why is it like this? Oh, okay. Sorry. I had to be so confused. Final Fantasy Record Keeper is a mobile game that, if I had to explain what its premise was, a team building mobile game that allowed you to build teams of multiple characters throughout the entire Final Fantasy series. Okay. There we go. And we're going to share this screen or we're going to share. This is a picture of Cloud Strife, as you can see. Now, in Final Fantasy Record Keeper, they would have each character from the Final Fantasy series in a pixelated form like this throughout the entire series. The reason why I have Dead Cloud on my screen is because it's funny. The series is dead, the global version. Now, you may be wondering why I keep saying the global version, because there are two versions of this game. There's global and the Japanese version. This is important because the Japanese version is still ongoing. You can technically play it if you are not a Japanese person, but it takes a lot of requirements and knowledge for it. And honestly, the game is starting to glitch out to the point where it's becoming unplayable. I tried recording some visual stuff for the game. I literally couldn't. It is in a state of not being able to be played, which is a shame, honest. If I can find gameplay or something that shows basically what I think of the game. Even some of the most current concepts of the game is very old. Like some of the most currently content is like of the Japanese side, and that is like 5 days old, and it's some of the most intense stuff that I couldn't even show you. In order to understand what this game is, as I said, it is a series that's taken place using every Final Fantasy character basically that's existed throughout the entire series. And when I say it's a gacha game, usually most gacha games have you spending real life money and in-game money, which this game does that. But in my opinion, it's one of the best free to play and pay to win experiences. Paying free to play is, of course, you can completely, without spending a single dollar on this game, play it. And I honestly think the best free to play mobile game, period, is Balloon Tower Defense 6. Because you just can buy the game once, never have to spend real life money again. That's it. Because you can buy the game. Now, the biggest pay to win and a pay to win is you spending real life money to get benefits in the game. Sometimes they're not even guaranteed. A gotcha game has you rolling for something lucky to happen, which gives you chances of items or something being dropped. Final Fantasy Record Keeper relies on an item droppage, basically. Um, when you use one of the forms of in-game currency, whether it's real life money or the stuff that you do to get the in-game currency to spend do rolls, you get items which give your characters cool buffs and cool powers. I will show you some of the um if I can. There doesn't seem to be anything that's like not, because I would have to explain a boss that I can understand, and that's the problem. The issue is the game can get real wacky, and I mean real fucking wacky. I'm just looking through to see if I can find any. Oh, this is it. This is a video. Can I explain? Okay, we're gonna watch a we're gonna watch a video together. Um, being fun. We're gonna watch this video together. It is the FFRK physical weakness. Now, I wonder. Now, you may be wondering, what does this mean? Of course, Final Fantasy Record Keeper. In Final Fantasy Record Keeper, you have team compositions. You can see how he has a team of characters from different games, being from 9, 10, 10, Fantasy 4, and 10. You could build your team out of anything, and this game relies on a few things. You making a team comp to face bosses and cool elements. We're going to see this. I face a boss together, and I can basically explain what's going off. Um, Now, immediately from the first thing that arrives, and this is what I find so interesting in the game, is you have to build an instantaneous team reaction to go through all of it. Of course, there's the auto mode and stuff. We can see him already casting things. This is in English, so this is actually an older video that you can tell. Now, of course, you can see. I'm going to pause this. The reason it's actually based off the older Final Fantasy Final Fantasy games from before 13, I think, or 12, or even 11. I think 10 is the oldest one that has had these. This is called an ATB meter. We have to. I'm pretty sure most people can remember these things. You literally have to wait a real world amount of time for this thing to fill up before your character can act. Now, when these do fill up, your characters can take certain actions. I don't think we'll get. Okay, I'm going to be able to pause it here. You can attack, you can defend, which basically these don't do anything once you start facing actual bosses of certain difficulty, which is why he puts in. He doesn't. Um, but there is really like difficulty ratings for the bosses. Yes, you have your first ability, your second ability, and a soul break. I'm not going to get into that right now, but what I think makes things interesting is the abilities are free, and the soul breaks is what makes this game interesting. Each character, we're going to stop sharing my screen for a second. Each character has a select soul break. What makes this interesting is every character can basically only do a cap of 9,990 damage in one basic attack. And your abilities can use multiple attacks, like maybe 4 or 5, depending on the ability, can boost stuff. Abilities can really go into the forefront. But I think what made this game click for me is while the characters are free, some of the equipment to gain their soul bricks weren't, which gained you abilities to use in boss rushes. We'll be watching this video to basically express, and full credit to them because I have literally just sharing the screen. I'm going to explain some of this. These are abilities. We can see actually, I believe this is the Bard Edward. He is about to use an awakening or a synchro. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. And we can see him instantly reacting to like things off. This is the Final Fantasy IX character's awakening, which boosts attacks, haste. You can immediately see this character, the player, reacting and knowing what these abilities are based off the team composition because he's trying to set a new record. I think this was one of the greatest things that Final Fantasy Record Keeper actually added into its editions later on, which was add a timer. We can see Edward. That's an awakening, I believe. Yep, that's an awakening. We can see the boost. We can see the benefits. He gains a barrier. She used a glint. That's a synchro, actually. I'm not going to get into what those are. He's getting rid of those pillars. As you can see, doing only a max of 9,900 damage. That's very important for later. This boss is also again conditions. You have to be aware of everything that's going on in this battle. This is like kind of level play, I would have to say. Now, you may be wondering, it didn't just say 9,900. Why is this guy doing like 90? There are abilities that let you break the damage cap. Now, if you want Final Fantasy Record Keeper's history, we've had to deal with. Hold on, I'm gonna stop sharing. We've had to deal with power creep. Every mobile game does. Every mobile game has power creep, and some deal with it worse than others. I think honestly, some of the worst contenders for power creep in a mobile game is Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. If you do not get new units or new items, you essentially cannot play that fucking game until it pities you to give you free shit. And even then, it might not be good free shit. In Final Fantasy Record Keeper, the game doesn't just pity you. The game doesn't pity you. The game literally makes it so when you pull for the items that give you soul breaks, you can sometimes get like discounted stuff. You can actually get some of the soul break stuff for free, which allows you to build better team compositions. And some of this stuff isn't even necessary for beating the boss. Some of the stuff is necessary to beat certain bosses, but it's not necessary to beat the boss in general. You can probably beat Ifrit physical weak with bare minimum stuff, I'm betting. Like, I was playing the video without switching back to it. I'm gonna switch back to it and we're gonna rewind so I can see this. As you see, she's using her awakening that lets her use unlimited abilities. He's using a synchro. I will not. Synchros can actually replace the attack or defend action, and usually can break damage caps pretty easily. As you can see, that's a lot of damage. Now, the reason why he's not targeting the boss is Ifrit has one of those things where if you do not get rid of these flame pillars, he will just wipe your fucking party. So you can see him tactically doing this stuff. He's using full breaks, not really affecting these bosses. Probably something he's thinking about later. Now he's using the awakening with Yuna. We can see these are things you can bring into parties. They're called party abilities, is what I always refer to them. You can bring in certain stuff that makes like a wall that reduces damage. This is one as a chain. So every time he hits this boss with like physical water meter, the count's going to go up by 1, doing basically 100% plus 1 damage. 100% plus 2. Every hit is going to count as a plus 1. We'll basically see this very shortly. Every water hit is going to do that. That's one of those boost ones. Is we see 105%. The damage is now increased to 105% because he hit him with a water ability that increased that damage. We can also see, you also saw that he was doing more damage. The damage cap starts at 0, So no matter what you can do, you'll never be able to break that damage cap into the 10,000s. But then you get damage cap 1, level 8, so on and so forth. There are some abilities that let you go straight to the max cap of 99, basically being 100k damage minus 1, which is insane because you could, if you're really good at this game, you can basically hit like a truck to certain bosses. He's increasing the attack of all his party members with actually only Titus and I think her name is Riku. I don't remember. These are the only two party members that are actual attackers. She's a support, he's a support, and she's the only healer. I actually don't know if this is a woman or not. I've never played Final Fantasy 9, so I don't know. I think she's from 9. This is phase 2, so if you don't destroy those flame pillars, he actually does more damage. And with people with the pain status effect, which takes more damage. As we can see, he actually stops at a damage cap of 2, and he's raising that damage even further with the party members using her. And this is the phase is going on. That air was actually okay. So this is going to get into some of the complicated stuff. We're not going to get into that. I just want to show people like the battle system and like why I think it's cool. I'm going to pause this completely, actually, because this is getting too much information. What I liked about this game was the simple fact that you could build a team composition representing from some of your Final Fantasy characters from overarching of the series, and you could build teams that could do stuff like this. You could build teams to take on bosses, turn events, and yes, you were kind of pseudo locked into certain characters you could use, but there was enough characters from different realms that could use for anything. Like yes, Terra from Final Fantasy VI is basically a fire elemental / wind elemental. So you can basically use her on only bosses that are weak to fire or wind, but you could theoretically use her in any dungeon. But for specific bosses, if you didn't like Terra, you didn't have to use her, or if you didn't have any stuff, you didn't have to use her. Sure, it locked you out of using certain characters you loved because certain characters didn't get cool upgrades or abilities, but it didn't matter. Like you could use basically cool party members and cool stuff that would be usable. And the reason why I want to talk about this and why I think it makes it a great mobile game is because it gave you so much variety. See, when you make a pull in this game, it didn't feel like it was giving you something for a character that you never used. It gave you something for a character you never thought about using. And yes, if you are in a late game, like some people, like I was at sometimes, and you had a specific team built out, you didn't really have much of a choice. You didn't have usage for Edward from Final Fantasy IV if he got a new awakening or something. Like it didn't matter if he got a new soul break. But if you got enough soul breaks, if you got enough stuff to use them, you're gonna probably put them in a team comp that was really weakening or something. I think the thing that made this game was amazing to me was it felt like none of the characters got power creeped. The abilities got power creeped, but none of the characters felt like they were. They always felt like there was a step forward, like there was something that they could do further beyond. And I never really felt behind. I was playing this game for years and I was asking for advice. I was asking for stuff and I was building team compositions and it was great. You could find, if you ever find my Reddit girl, it's there. Like I've literally built teams to stuff and I can do stuff today that I can never do before. I just don't play the game because I got too deep into the late game. The thing that the game struggles with is power creep becomes too much, which I think all mobile games struggle with. When you definitively need like a team composition or a certain item or a certain ability to beat a boss. By showing you the boss I was playing, which again, let me point out the YouTuber being Anger's G was made 3 years ago, which was the FFRK things shut down. Actually, 2 years ago, so this is a year before it shut down. That's this is probably the only Final Fantasy global video you'll ever find, which is crazy. Um, the reasoning why I think this game was so cool, as I said, is the team composition. It never felt like you could struggle to build a team to defeat a boss. And yes, while there was stuff, the game was constantly able to give you things to help build the team. Sure, the grind is a lot in Final Fantasy Record Keeper, and I think it's probably one of the worst grinds a mobile game has. But if you play it, I feel like it when it had you, it really had you. I don't know if that makes like sense, but when you're playing every day and you only clear like maybe one or two, maybe three dungeons, if you clear three dungeons a day, you get because there's multiple types of dungeons, you get one mithril. Mithril is the in-game currency, the free-to-play currency. I will call it the in-game free-to-play currency to pull relics to get soul breaks. The stuff that you saw do awakenings or soul synchros, which I was the stuff I was calling. You needed 50 of them to get it. So if you play three dungeons, you got one. Which is you're like, oh, that sounds difficult, but all you need to do was beat, like, hold on, you just beat this boss 3 times, and you see it. That's in 4 minutes, and the crazy thing is, this, in my opinion, this boss, you don't even need to beat that boss. You could beat any boss, any dungeon 3 times, and you get one free game currency. And yeah, you do that for 50 days and you get it. But the interesting thing is most bosses or some dungeons or some things give you more free in-game currency. The free-to-play in-game currency, basically, you could get probably like 50 of them in like 2 weeks, maybe 3. If you're like a little slow on it, because you have to beat, I think it was once a week you can beat like a certain amount of dungeons, certain amount of these magicite dungeons, you get like free mithrils. And if you're a beginner player, you beat random beginner dungeons that would give you basically 1 to 2 free mithril, and logging in gave you a free mithril. So every day, let's say if you're late game like me, and you're basically only getting free in-game currency from just logging in, so you get 1, beating 3 dungeons a day, and then however many you get for a week and certain missions, you can get like 10 free mithril maybe within a week, maybe 12. And that's like, doesn't seem a lot, but if you get like 12 to 15 a week, you can do like get 3 items. I've seen mobile games where you play for like a week or 2 weeks and it doesn't feel like you make progress. Like, it doesn't feel like you're moving forward. I do think Tower Defense 6 is the best mobile game definitively, because it's basically, once you buy the game, you never need to spend real money. But like, this game had a great free to play market. You log in, you do your dungeons, you design your team comp, you read some strategy, you read some guides online. It felt like there was a general community for this game. And then they shut down the global version. And I don't know why. I genuinely felt like there was nothing wrong with this game as it was standing. Strategies were good, things were epic, bosses were great. Every day I would log in and just beat some dungeons, log into things. It was fun. And it's sad to say that like this is one of my favorite mobile games because the grind didn't feel tedious. It felt like I was always making a step forward to the next boss. There was one point I struggled with this guy. There was one point I struggled with him, and I'm gonna check my current record. And I'm gonna check my current record of beating him. Oop. Give me a second. I haven't logged in like a month, so the game is currently doing things. You can see how he's fighting this boss. This is one of the, in my opinion, this is one of the more difficult ones because it kind of just messes with you. But you can see how he's got it to 50%. By the way, half the video is over and he's only got it to 50%. And now you may be wondering, oh, that's a synchro, I think. You may be wondering if it only took him this long to get it down to 50%. This is where the big hits start coming. Oh, that's the final phase. Oh, I'm engaging the boss right now to see where I got this boss right now. Give me a second. Yeah. It's gonna nuke that character. Give me 1 second. The game's loading. I have this boss in the 28-second range. This is like not as fast as this guy. Notably because he knows what he's doing, right? This to beat this boss in like 10 seconds flat, he's crazy because he's one of the more difficult ones in my opinion. But like that's 10 seconds. That's in-game 10 seconds, which is crazy. I can sit there and beat this boss in under 30. And by the way, under 30 is considered a high achievement. Like there is, and these are some of the, and that's one of the later, that was used to be one of the later game bosses actually. It's not like considered a mid game boss now because of all the updates and contents. But there's a boss that I actually kind of beat chillingly because I have his stuff on lockdown so much that you can auto run dungeons. I even have teams that just do that content. I'm gonna see how fast he gets beaten. I'm not gonna play it. I'm just gonna look at the time. That's 7 seconds. Hold up. 7 seconds. 7 seconds. That's faster than he does it. And I don't use my phone because I set up auto teams to do that. The thing is, by setting up team compositions of building every single day, it felt like I was grinding and I could see actual progression. And that's the thing. A lot of mobile games for me miss that progression mark. They don't hit the same, or they require you to spend real life money. Now, I'm not going to lie and tell you Final Fantasy Record Keeper is perfect because obviously there's real game currency, real life money in game currency. Hold up, I'm closing them all out. I'm going to click a thing. I'm going to click that one. Click that one. One moment. Okay, so you see this. The top one is your fake game currency, the free-to-play currency. The second one is a real currency, right? Real currency, real in-game currency. So that's the pay-to-win currency, which I believe was 900 of that, which for real life money was like $10, I think. It's been a minute since I played. I think it's like 878 right now. In Japan, it's weird because it's like the yen transfer is different, but I think it was like $10, maybe less. You didn't ever have to spend real life money, except for there were specific banners that you could only pull using real life money, which guaranteed higher stuff. But it was basically stuff that was a little older, or you could choose an item. Like, so if you had a character like Bart's from Final Fantasy V, who's probably one of the better offensive characters because he's a master of 4 elements, being fire, earth, water, and wind. He's known for his wind elemental mostly, but he has basically one in every hand. And if you are trying to get Bart's more water stuff, and you can pay the game and you pull the drop and you get anything you want for Bart's. If he has one of the items, you can pull and choose. You can get it, and also you can check which items you can choose from, so you don't pay the money and then see the item you want to choose isn't there. Which is I've seen it actually happen in fucking mobile games. I think the thing is, I played Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle, and I hate the mobile game aspect of it because it requires you to get the shiniest and newest thing. And yes, technically speaking, Final Fantasy Record Keeper makes you keep to not up to date with stuff. It only makes you keep up to date with stuff if you want to beat the newest bosses. But the problem is, Dokkan Battle also required you to get the newest stuff if you wanted to beat some of the story dungeons. If you wanted to beat like some of the hard modes, like FFRK, you don't need that. Like you need good team compositions and some even of the old, like some of the old awakenings, you can beat like most of the base game with those old items, like stuff that the game just basically hands you for free, lets you choose, and it even gives you stuff that like while you can't get those soul breaks, like the abilities, like everything you do can basically be done on a budget. The free to play game aspect is super nice. I'm gonna uninstall the game after this because it's really glitching out and it's almost impossible to play actually, which it really sucks. The game is the game means a lot to me because during it proved the fact that I have a gambling addiction. But during high school and college and stuff, it's always been there for me. It's always been playable, you know? And I will admit it has had its power creep and stuff, and its dungeons have felt impossible, but the community behind it really made sense. It really showed you what dungeons to do, what bosses to get, what items to get for certain characters, the progression, the stats, the builds you wanted. It really felt like everything you did was a step forward. And when I play games like, hold up, when I play mobile games like, I recently downloaded this fucking one called um, Tartar. It doesn't scratch that itch because it said it's a roguelike mobile game, and that sounded cool. But hold on, I'm gonna install Final Fantasy Keeper right now. The Japanese version because the game is glitched out to the max and it's very difficult to play. I genuinely didn't find any strategy there because the beginner dungeons felt so autoplay. Like I didn't even touch the game. With Final Fantasy Record Keeper, the beginning dungeons, you could wipe out on the beginning dungeons if you just didn't have a healer, if you didn't choose your abilities right, if you didn't read what the bosses had to do. And the craziest thing about Final Fantasy Record Keeper is there are dungeons that let you explore the realms of the old games, or even some of the modern ones, and they would give you summaries of them. They wouldn't tell you what happened for the final bosses for the newer games, but they tell you the whole thing about the older games. Like it would let you experience how what it kind of felt, what it kind of feels to fight those newer bosses or older bosses in like a style that you've never seen them. Like this, the pixelated style I'm showing you for Cloud Strife. The pixelated style I showed you on the thumbnail for Cloud Strife, or the pixelated style I will show you for Sephiroth. There are two Sephiroths pixelated styles, which is this is the player control Sephiroth. Yes, I said player control because that is the character you control when you are controlling Sephiroth. And then there's the enemy Sephiroth. Sharing that. This is the enemy Sephiroth. See, this pixelated art style was also part of my favorite. You got to see the characters on a form that you normally would never see them. Like, what if they were on the Super Nintendo and it would show these beautiful animated cutscenes? No, notably, you didn't get to watch any of them because they were at 2 times speed. I'm going to see if I can find any of the stuff. Because it's God. That was so fast. I don't think so. Nope. Like, nope. All of it's gone. Okay, cool. There are these animations that showed like from the synchro from the abilities. You get some of these animations that would show like their character specialties, moves they would actually use in the game, like stats that would follow them from the game. Like it shows you the in depths, and it lets you use party members that you would get used to, and then reading their stories, their existence, and being able to play those characters and share some of their favorite moments. I think the game is beautiful because it really lets some people experience a lot of the Final Fantasy older games in just brief summaries, of course, not the whole game. And they actually did a thing where you could experience some of the story beats as the whole pixelated mess. It was cool. I don't think it was good, but it was cool. They never finished that area, but it was cool. Um, I genuinely think releasing a game that lets you explore each aspect of your entire franchise, letting them give small snippets to see if you're into the game or even the full game itself, like the whole summary, and then just seeing if they would even buy the game is so cool. It's so unique. Being able to use the characters, how powerful they are in your mobile game, and then being able to play them in that game. It's such a good idea, and I'm surprised it just dies. And they marketed Final Fantasy Brave Exodus, which is their other mobile game, but I couldn't get into that. I'm struggling getting into mobile games now because none of them are as good as Final Fantasy. Guardian Tales, I will say, is the only other mobile game that I think is really good. But I requested a refund because I needed $20, and I spent $20 in the game, and then I got kicked out. Um, happens because fucking bills. But I genuinely think FFRK is an amazing mobile game. Was amazing. Since the global version shut down 2 years ago, I took a year off the game, reinstalled the Japanese version, and played it, which I had to start from scratch. And within less than like I think 3 or 4 months, I built a compromisable team similar to my old ones. But then I was doing the dungeons back to back, and I didn't feel like I was prepared. Like I beat bosses that I felt like I was never gonna beat, but then I just felt stagnant. Like it felt like I accomplished my dreams of the global version, the global team that never got to do it. My Japanese team did, and I felt complete. And that's the thing. When you build a story or a mobile game or anything, there has to be an ending. I genuinely think that's the biggest problem with mobile games in general. There doesn't feel like an ending. With Final Fantasy Record Keeper, it feels like an online game. It feels like the ending was Bahamut, but it feels like these are the new bosses that are coming out are like raid bosses, and I'm not really interested in the raid bosses. But I was interested in killing Bahamut, and I did it. I killed all versions of him, and then I quit because it felt like that was the end of my story. And I just uninstalled the game because it's not playing well, and I don't want to play a game that just doesn't play well. That's fucking sucks. I, I genuinely think the reasoning why I struggle talking about this game because it's hard to talk about a game that it's hard to have so much. You have to have so much generalized knowledge, but having the basics like you have an attack, you have a defend, you have two abilities you can bring into a battle are soul breaks, which you gain from obtaining items related to that character, and they'll usually have the soul break, the character's picture, and like what that can do, and like pure details, and show you the animation. Some of the animations are so good, actually. Um, the uh, I'm gonna see if I can see if I can find. Yeah, actually, I found it. This is gonna be another one. This is really funny. Okay, look how cool this is. You have the entire Final Fantasy 17 fighting Sephiroth, the final boss. And look at this. Fucking supernova. Oh, hold up. That's not the supernova I wanted. Give me a minute. Give me a minute. I don't know where it is. 'Cause I remember seeing this huge uh, FFRK thing. Um, give me some. Uh, these are like these are these are like these are like bursts. I want like ultras. Like there's I know there's like ultras or whatever. Hold up. God. So when you do a thing, a soul break, it God, okay, nobody really had these animations. It's not I don't know what I was expecting. I would have showed you one, but I literally just deleted the game. Um when you gather a soul break, it plays an animation, and some of them are super high quality. In my opinion, we all put it on 2 times speed because we're trying to get for that efficiency. But I think seeing these moves, seeing the animation, seeing the beauty, seeing every step that you're taking, and it literally could cost you nothing. and it felt like there was an end. It like there sure was an in-game story. Sure, the game kept continuing. And I think like this is my main problem with like all manhwa or any capitalism game. Like they never wanted to end, but like when you reach a point where your audience disconnects from you, I think you've lost the message. And I think Final Fantasy Record Keeper really, when it stopped global version as soon as Bahamut was introduced, it felt like introducing the post game boss and not letting anyone complete it. Some people did it, but I didn't. And I won by recreations. And then I did it. Now I'm done. I miss the game. Because I feel like if the global version was still out, I'd still be playing it because it's easier to read stuff that's in my native language. I understand it better, you know. Um, and I don't have to look up translations. I don't have to jump through like 7 hoops just to barely read it and understand it and get that ability check. I don't have to like do so much research. I don't have to waste time. And because you made the game disconnected from the global users, if you wanted to play a game that you got hooked on, you had to waste so much time to get into it. And for the Japanese audience, that's not wasting time. That's just part of their day. But you had a global audience and you just cut them off. And that feels rude to me. It feels like a live service game just going dark without like any updates. And like sure, you might release a tweet that says, hey, we're shutting our services in like a month, pack it up. But what's stopping a live service game from you pay it once and that's it? You post you update the game to record an automatic like certain rewards and on certain checkpoints and it does it. Like I've played physical games for millennia and I damn for sure know if a fucking Nintendo Switch, not even a Switch, if I know a goddamn like GameCube, even like less powerful, like probably even a Super Nintendo, can like track day by day code and like do a small RNG numerator refresher based off the day of the calendar. Like a GameCube can do that. There's no reason why you can't release a mobile game that just fucking does that. Like, or release your game globally forever, just as like it. There's no service. Like it's like being able to play Mario Kart. It's like if Mario Kart Wii, if when the internet shut down, you just couldn't play Mario Kart Wii at all. Period. Which I think is worse, you know, because shutting that game completely versus just shutting down its online component. Like you should just had its online component shut down, and I honestly think that would have been way better. You know, let people reach their end when they want it. But you can't do that because we still want money. Ooh, um, genuinely speaking, I wish I uploaded some of the content so I could pull from the videos. I genuinely wish the game had more time. But I'm glad it stopped when it did, you know? It stopped on a beautiful marker showing like a boss that felt unbeatable, but people were able to do it and I just wasn't in it. But now I am. And now I'm looking for like a new mobile game and I can't play Guardian Tales. Final Fantasy Record Keeper is gone and Balloon Tower Defense 6 is great, but it doesn't feel like I could pick it up, play it for like 20 minutes, and call it quits. Because when FERK did something great is each boss battle took like 10 minutes max if you were really struggling with it. Like you saw the fight I showed you. 5 minutes tops. And that's not including building the team, making sure all the items good, making sure all the equipment's good, every item you want, everything you want on the team. Building your team, building the layout, building the exact method can take like an hour. And I find that process so much fun. It felt like a puzzle solving game, but the fucking puzzle solving game wasn't trying to sap $10 from my pocket. It was like, hey, you can do it. And if you can't, there are methods that aren't paying us goddamn money that let you do this. And that felt so good. to play a game that didn't mandate you to spend money. Yes, it behooved the process and it made the game easier. You could pay to win, but it didn't make it feel mandatory. And a lot of mobile games have the issue where they make you go to a wall at select points where you have to pay to win. And that's just not fun. Because once you pay to win, you have a sunk cost fallacy and you have to get your money's worth. And that's just not okay. Like, I get it, you're a business and you have to do what you got to do and, do what you're doing. But it doesn't feel fair, you know? It doesn't feel right when I have to pay for something in your game because you made the mechanics of the game unfair towards the pay a player without them paying for it, you know? Because an entire game's purpose should be for entertainment. The entire game should be beatable. The only reason you should have to pay for something in a game is for cosmetics or ease of access. Let's say if Bloom Tower Defense 6 was free, I would say the double cash mode easily you should have to pay for. And there's definitely other things. Like I think you could pay real life money to get stuff. And honestly, like BTD6 really does it great where you pay once for the game and you never have to pay again, but you can buy double cash mode, you could buy the heroes, you could buy monkey points, you can do stuff to make the game easier. But you could also just have it free to play. And I think the reason why I say FERC is the perfect mix of that, because BTT6 requires you to have money to buy it in the first place. But FERC doesn't. You could just download the game. The gaming loop felt interesting. It felt fun. It felt strategic. It felt like it challenged you without making you buy anything. And if you did have to pay for something, you could just quit and come back the next day and you get free in-game currency. So you might not have to pay today, but you don't have to pay. You could pay today or you wait like a week and then you don't pay at all. And or you can come back to bosses and get way more stronger and you never have to pay in the first place. Like there's so many opportunities. And I think the main issue was like it really struggled with power creep, like all mobile games do, because they just want to make things bigger and bigger. But there's a point of ultra inflation where when you remember battling those small bosses and struggling with them felt so much more fun than trying to build a team comp to beat a boss that has 1 bajillion health points. Like it just doesn't feel the same once it gets too big. It feels like you're just mindlessly doing something. And that's not good. I feel like FERC, when it left global, it just left before it was getting inflated. And I think that's good. I don't think video game inflation is good. If a number gets too big for me to comprehend, then it doesn't feel like I'm doing anything to really assist. It's why when you see health bars in video games that represent a percentage, makes you understand like, okay, how much am I doing good? You know, you can see how I've literally seen it in FERC where I got like 10% off on the boss in a certain amount of time. And I'm like, okay, I can do this. Or you're like 99% done with the boss, but he barely finishes your whole body, and you're like, I can definitely do this. Or like even if you're 80 or 70, like I had rules for FERC that I'm like, if a boss was within this finishing range, or if I can't get this much health depleted in this much time, then like I have to retry, or like I can do this again, or I can like do this. Maybe my team strat's wrong. Like reading other people's thoughts, and the community really helps with like that. Like you never felt alone in FERC. People were willing to help you, but like I genuinely felt like I was never alone in the series. I felt like a wall of keepers, And like there was no way to talk in game. It was all offline communities. I think the biggest thing is FFRK felt just right. Like it felt like it built the community in the game, and then offline, it like you were supposed to talk to the people in the different libraries, you know, relate to your books, relate to your strategies. But I genuinely don't know why games don't do it now. You know, like what? Right. Like, just this overarching, you pay, you get bigger, and it just doesn't feel right. I liked Guardian Tales because the game really felt fun, and FERC also felt fun. I just haven't found a gameplay loop that makes sense to me for mobile games. That isn't FERC, and it's hard to relate everything to FERC because when you find something that feels like perfection, you can't help but relate anything. Tartar feels cool, but it doesn't feel good because it feels like I have to grind so much just to get to a point where it will begin to challenge me. And if your damage is already in like the millions before you even get to that point, you got too big too soon. Like I believe like it just gets you have to remember staying small makes things feel so much bigger when you do get big. There has to be a cap no matter what. And I believe FERC really ended off globally when that perk was just there. And I believe like it's still going strong. Like there isn't that cap doesn't feel directly there because people are still beating these bosses in under 30 seconds. So the strategies are still there and works, and the team building, and you can get the advice to do it. Like this is the first game I think I felt part of the community, and I felt like I was even contributing. And I think that's the biggest thing. It felt like a community. It felt great. With Final Fantasy Record Keeper, being able to build teams of your favorite characters, give them the ability to see their synchro, see their abilities, see their soul breaks from items you've stored, from the books to the library, the pages you could turn, and then just unleash them on bosses and get some more pages, get some of your resources, do some research, get some information, lose, win, no matter what. It always felt like I was walking forward to completing a goal. And with most mobile games, that doesn't feel like games. The only thing it does feel is like Bloon Tower Defense 6, and even then, the gameplay loop is just too long. If the game had triple speed, I think I'd be fine. But double speed, and I'm just sitting there like placing monkey towers everywhere, waiting for 100 rounds to complete, and that's a little tedious. You know, I genuinely think I'm gonna end this on an hour. I genuinely think this is FERC struggles from the case of people just didn't know about it, and I just wanted to talk and ramble about how a game that from when I started from high school that required me to build small teams to just beat like level 1 or 5 enemies, and then I'm like now level 99 with every single one of my characters fully stacked up, fully awakened, all this stuff, and beating bosses that I thought would never be beatable. It's so cool, you know. But you know, I stopped before it reached like these levels of you have to build very specific teams, and that just isn't fun. It felt like it took away from what FERC was. Being able to customize and build the team you wanted and work with those characters. And sure, you might knock out the items you want from them, but sometimes you can just get them for free, and then you can get your favorite character even better. Yeah, I think FERC will live in my memories and heart as one of the best mobile games of all time. But I genuinely don't know if I will find a mobile game that will ever make me love it as it. Like I love gambling games, and I'm so fucking glad Balatro will never be on mobile. Because if Balatro's on mobile, my life's over. But I don't know. I think FFRK really, really did a lot, and for me, really appreciating mobile games because it made me realize that Dokkan Battle wasn't good. It made me realize that a lot of games I used to love weren't good. And sure, I paid in that game a lot of money, but I like stopped. It made me realize I had a gambling addiction. Like like gotcha games are gambling, and it made me realize that. Especially when it comes to stuff like this, where it kind of semi puts you in a path that you have to get certain items. And I wanted to get one for my favorite character, but being locked from Final Fantasy 6, it was during the time when you first could pass the barrier of 9,999 damage. I remember that, and I was spending real life money to get a fictional fucking item. And my friend drew it, and I finally got it, and I was so happy. But like now that I think about it, I don't know why. Because that item I got it for free not that much long ago. And it's not even useful now. And I'm like, wow, power creep is a son of a bitch. Like, I think games really need to figure out. That's why I love buying physical games, not playing a lot of mobile games, because it feels like there's an end. It feels like there's a cap. Even with games like Balatro, which is a roguelike poker game, there's a cap. There's only so much I could go. And I don't play endless modes because I don't find them fun. But some people do. And to each their own. But this has been the Chill Pineapple. I talked about fucking Final Fantasy Keeper for an hour, how I like the game, some of the animations, explaining some of the game, watching some dude on YouTube. Genuinely speaking, I think the game is great, and I'm sad that it's gone, but I'm also glad that it stopped when it did. I think any further, it would have taken away what I found fun about the game. And getting rid of it on my phone today made me feel better. Because to me, that makes me feel like I'm getting a final sign off to the game. And today, I will be signing off and streaming on Twitch tomorrow. So, happy weekend. Bye.